Hello, Regis. Welcome to the Return to Regis Town Hall. We're beginning momentarily. We're just admitting our final participants. Just wanted to make folks aware that during the meeting, you're going to be muted as well as your video shut off. So if you'd like to interact in any way or submit questions, I'm sure you've got those for us. Please send them to me. I'm Walt Horner. You'd send them directly to me for our Q&A at the end. And it's important for us to also know that this is being recorded. So as we work through, if you're unable to attend or if you need to step off, we're going to be recording our town hall today and posting it on our website. So you'll be able to catch up if you missed anything. So thanks again. We're ready to begin our town hall. And it's going to be an important discussion. As you know, just yesterday, we made the difficult decision to adapt our Return to Regis plan. And our discussion today is going to focus on the transition. And the agenda itself is going to include, obviously, a welcome from President Hayes, who's going to give us an overview of our decision-making process. We're then going to talk about the academic program and the important adjustments that you need to be made aware of. And then we'll talk about a summary of our plan to repopulate campus on a much more limited basis than we'd originally planned for. And at the end, we're going to take some time, as we always do, to address your questions. We've received so many thoughtful questions. We've received over 100 questions to this point. We won't be able to get to them all. But just know that we're going to do our best to answer. I think we've got at least 20, probably time for 20 to 25 questions today, and then you'll get individual responses to those questions if they're specific. And then obviously we'll be sure to follow up with each and every one of you that do have a question today. As you know, you're going to be hearing from President Hayes, our president today. You're going to be hearing from Kara Kolmich. She's our Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. Also, you've grown to love and know Dr. Mary Driscoll. She's our Vice President of Academic Affairs. And then I'll be managing the Q&A at the end of the session. That said, I'm ready to hand it over to two fantastic individuals. The first person is Annabella Morabito. She's our newly appointed Assistant Dean of Student Affairs. So congratulations for those that know Annabella. And to Dan Leahy, our Director of Ministry and Service. And they're going to lead us in an opening reflection. Annabella and Dan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Walt, and welcome everyone. It's good to be with you all. As we begin this evening, we invite you to ground yourselves in the presence of the divine, however or whoever you know God to be for you. And so let us pray. Loving and faithful God, we gather in your presence as a community this evening. We turn towards you for guidance and support. Our world is shaken. Persistent racial injustice, a crippling, deadly pandemic, both have touched our world at Regis. And what the experience of our college community will be like this fall seems to be changing by the minute. We feel anger, disappointment, frustration, and grief. We grieve the experiences and moments that we have lost, but we remain grounded in your steadfast and unconditional love. We know that this exile from our beloved campus is temporary, and we hope that we might be together again in a few short months.
We are still Regis, and we ask that you help us remain committed to our mission and core values, especially now when we need them the most. Help us to offer gracious hospitality to our new students as they adapt to the changes ahead of them, to prioritize equity and equal access to quality, transformative education, as well as to offer loving care and support for each and every one in our community, whether on or off campus. We believe that our true identity is defined by how we treat our dear neighbor without distinction, especially during difficult times. All of this we ask in your holy name. Amen. And now I would like to introduce our president as she welcomes us to this town hall event, Dr. Antoinette Hayes.
Here we go. Thank you, Dan and Annabella. And good evening, everyone. We are just a week and a half from the start of the fall 2020 semester, and how different it is going to be from what we had expected. I was very sad to make the announcement yesterday that we must hold off on fully opening the campus until January. This decision was not made lightly, but nothing is more important than the health and safety of our community members. Colleges across the country are rethinking their plans and reducing the number of students on campus as well. The spread of the disease is significantly worse today than a month ago and trending in the wrong direction. As a nurse and as your president, that concerns me greatly. And I know from the emails and the calls that I've received and some of my staff have received, it concerns many others in the Regis community as well, including our students and their families. I know this is not what you had expected and not what any family would have expected at this point or wants. I think we all thought the country would be in a better place at this point. But this isn't just Regis. This is happening all over the country. Instead of reopening campus on a large scale this fall, we are limiting on-campus housing only to those upperclassmen requiring in-person instruction related to labs and clinical experiences that are necessary for their academic progression. As I've said all along, we remain committed to maintaining academic continuity for all students. All other Regis courses will be taught remotely, and no first-year student will live on campus this fall only. The reduced number of campus students will allow for single occupancy rooms for students, which is highly recommended by public health regulations. This will help also with quarantining of students or isolation if the need arises. Again, we must put the health and safety of our community at the forefront of everything we do. I know many of you feel a sense of loss, as do I, by not being on campus with me. I'm still on campus, but it's very lonely, and I will miss not seeing all of you. It's been a tough few months for all of us, but this is the best decision for all of us at this time. My dedicated team will work hard to ensure that you feel connected and a part of this special community, and that students feel supported academically and emotionally. All I can say, and I know many of you have heard me say this before, we will get through this together. Together is the important message. We will get through this together as a Regis community, as a state of Massachusetts, as a country, and as a world. We have a few other speakers today, and then I will be able to answer any questions that you may have after their remarks. But again, thank you so much for coming this evening. And I wish I could give you all a great big hug, but just know that I'm sending you a virtual one. And I hope to see you soon in January. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Mary Driscoll, Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and we have a lot to cover. We're going to be giving you a lot of information and sending you other places that you can find it, and this session is being recorded. So if you don't get everything the first time, that's fine. As the president said, we've really had, as we've looked at reopening Regis, only two goals the whole time that we've been planning. The first is health and safety, your health and safety as students, our staff, and our faculty. The second goal that we've been strongly committed to is the maintenance of academic continuity and academic progress for every student. Last spring, when we had to transition to remote learning very quickly, we learned a lot about the kind of preparation that's needed to really be able to serve our students well. Our faculty worked very hard, and luckily we had strong online experience already because we have extensive programs at the graduate level relying on online technology. So we had more than a little bit of a head start. But even so, we knew it was difficult for students to switch very quickly to remote instruction only. And so when we designed the fall term, thinking that we might be toggling between in-person and online, just as we told you a few weeks ago, we split the schedule into 2 8-week terms so that most students would only have half of their courses at a time, especially if they were in the remote modality. We're continuing with that plan. We will still have courses in 3 formats. Most of the undergraduate courses will meet either in the first or the second 8 weeks of the semester, and some of the courses, especially for upperclassmen, will continue to meet over the 16 weeks. Our undergraduate courses all begin, as you know, on August 17th, and we had always said they would begin remotely. What we decided this week is for the vast majority of our students, those courses will remain remote for the entire semester. Why did we make that decision? Well, first of all, health and safety really is paramount. And as the president just said, watching the trend lines, it became clear that the way for us to keep the maximum number of people safe on campus was to reduce dramatically the number of students that we were housing. And as the president said, that enables us to give everybody a single room. So while we originally had hoped to welcome as many as 700 students on campus, we realized this week that we could provide safe and a healthy environment for no more than about 200. So why did we decide the majors that we did? And I'll go through them in a minute. Well, those of you who were at Regis last spring might not have realized that while most students were able to complete their academic programs, we had a subset of students, especially in nursing and the health sciences professions, with required clinical work, who were not able to complete those clinical hours during the semester because the clinical sites themselves either closed or removed our students. That situation changed over the summer. And as there has been increasing PPE and increasing understanding of the virus, those clinical sites have remained open and welcomed our students. And we're very glad that students in dental hygiene, nuclear medicine, diagnostic medical sonography, and nursing have been able, for the most part, working over the summer with faculty, to complete those clinical hours. Those clinical sites, we expect, will remain open. But we know that the students who rely on those sites for their academic progress will not be able to make that progress unless they're provided with the opportunity to do so. So given the number of students that we could safely house, we looked at our 3rd and 4th year nursing students, our accelerated bachelor's in nursing, our junior and senior nuclear medicine and diagnostic medical sonography, and our 2nd and 3rd year dental hygiene students, and realized that we could serve those students in a safe environment and make sure they had access to the simulations, labs, and clinical experiences that cannot be completed remotely. Those of you who are starting at Regis and are first-year students hoping to be in dental hygiene or nursing, your courses can be completed remotely. So we're reserving our invitations to campus for that small number of students that rely on the campus experience in order to make academic progress. So let me tell you a little bit about what we learned over the last semester. First of all, it takes time to develop the kind of instructional design and support services in a course that students need. Our faculty have worked all summer to do that, and they're ready for you. They're ready for you to begin your remote instruction on August 17th, and they're ready for you to segue, in most cases, into your second course on October 13th. We're ready for you with advising services, but also the tutoring, the counseling, and the other academic support services that you have come to know and care about at Regis. We know how important those are, and our staff and our faculty have worked very hard to keep connected to and try to understand and support the special needs you have when you are studying remotely. We think it's probably a better thing for most students not to take all of their courses remotely and begin that way, especially if it's their first year in classes. So we think our 2 8-week semesters, that in some cases will be balanced with 1 or 2 16-week courses for students, especially in the upper classes, will be a supportive and positive experiences for you. And one of the things that really has changed since last spring, although there's much we don't know about the virus, there's lots we do. And we know the steps that we all have to take to keep you safe and to keep us safe. Wearing a mask, good hygiene, washing those hands, and of course, as we'll discuss for those students on campus, the testing regime that we're prepared to put in place and still are for all of the students who are here. For the first year students, you may find that the experience of remote instruction at Regis is different from what you may have experienced in your last year of high school. You'll see on the schedule that we have synchronous classes. And what that means is there really is a class meeting that you attend by computer. So we've been able to capture more of the feeling that you would have if you were on campus and meeting with your colleagues and faculty. We also have remote accommodations for office hours and the kinds of connections with other students and with faculty that are so important to you. We've had experience now since March of putting our library, all of our other kinds of technical supports in formats that students can access wherever they are. And our instructional technology people have gotten really good at solving some of those off-site remote problems. I know that many of you may feel that remote learning is not your first preference, although, as the president said, we had many students express that they really were more comfortable at this time and under these conditions not coming to campus. But we're ready to help you adjust and work within this framework. We're very committed to your success, and everything that we're doing, even this sort of late in the day pivot, is to make sure that every student who comes to Regis has an opportunity to complete their academic work this year. You'll find we still have internships. They're just going to be remote. We've moved experiences so that if you can't do them this semester, we'll make sure that you have the opportunity when we come back, and we will come back, hopefully in January. This is my first year on campus, and I want to tell you, and some of you I'm sure are feeling this way, I'm really disappointed that we won't all be together in the fall. I've been looking forward to it. My first fall on a New England campus. You probably have been too. We've been getting ready for it all summer. And as I said to the faculty and staff, we haven't wasted a minute because we're coming back, and we're coming back big. So I can't wait to meet you in person. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And now I want to turn it over to Dr. Kara Kolomitz, who can talk to you a little bit about what's going to happen on campus. Kara?
Thank you, Dr. Driscoll. Good evening, everyone. I join President Hayes and Dr. Driscoll in sharing with you our deep disappointment in needing to pivot to our residential plan, from our original residential plan. I also share with the President and Dr. Driscoll the total commitment and desire to make sure that our campus and our students are healthy and safe. I'm going to share with you some of the nuts and bolts of your experience this semester, and I'm going to ask a few people to join me on screen. I'm going to ask Tanya Jean-Francois, who is our Director of Financial Aid, to please come to the screen and unmute herself. And I'm going to also ask Fabricio Vesquez to come and to the screen and unmute himself as well. Some of the most pressing and urgent questions we've received in the last 24 hours are certainly primary on families and students' minds. And that's around financial aid, billing cycle, reimbursement, commitment to residential life, all of those issues that we really want to address with you right now. So Tanya and Fabricio, good evening. Nice to have you with us. So Tanya, talk to me a little bit, knowing that there are several hundred students that were planning to come to campus and they received their financial aid package indicating they'd be a resident, and then Fabricio, they received a bill. That package is going to look differently because the residential charge is going to come off and then a new package needs to be created. So when can I anticipate, if I'm a student, to receive that new package, that new financial aid package?
Okay, well, thank you, Kara. My name is Tanya Jean-Francois, and I am the Director of Financial Aid. Every student's financial aid package is different. There are no two packages that are alike. And because of the complicated measures behind adjusting the awards, we will need a little bit of time to get these put together for you so that you have the best and the cleanest, clearest bill possible. So we want you to know that merit scholarships will not be impacted by this, this change to remote, to virtual learning. The resident grants, however, will be canceled. The Regis grants, alternative loans, and other sources of financial aid also may be impacted, and they may be reduced. All adjustments we are hoping to have made by August 24th. Please note, this is something that we do not take lightly. We want to get this done as soon as possible for you, and these adjustments will only apply to the fall semester only, unless students have indicated to us that they plan to be remote, they plan to commute as well or live off campus for the spring semester.
Correct. And the residential grant is removed only if you are not coming to residence. For the students that are able to come to residence, given their major, they still will receive the residential grant.
Yes.
So that means, how do I know, Fabricio, if my bill is up to date and when that bill will be changed?
Yeah, the easiest way to find your bill, the latest statement, would be going through your hub. So hub.regiscollege.edu under student finance. You're going to be able to go there on a daily basis if you want, and it'll give you the most up-to-date information that we have. So as we work with financial aid to reverse some of these charges for room and board and some grants and stuff like that, you'll be able to see it reflected on your account. So if you don't have access to that, you should have access. We'll be more than happy to help you, navigate that. And if you're a parent, make sure that you talk to your student to get access to those accounts, because they're the only ones who have the account access. So make sure that you work with them to be able to see that.
Correct. So Fabricio, before our plans changed, everyone's bill was due today. So clearly that's changed. What is the new due date for the bill?
Yeah, so we're looking at a target date of August 24th. If for some reason your bill is still not reflecting the correct charges, we will work with you on a new date on a base. So we're here to help. I know it's a lot to ask from you guys. Today was the due date, and ask you guys to wait a couple more weeks until we get all this figured out. So bear with us. We're here to help. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. I know the bursar itself is very scary, but I'm not. I'm friendly. So.
He's not. And just to prove that he's not scary, he and Tanya have agreed to be a part of one of the segments of our continuing ongoing orientation for first-year students. They will have their own session on the 14th of August, and more information to come about that, but a special question and answer town hall about financial aid and billing. So Tanya and Fabricio, thank you so much. We want to address and talk to our upper class students who will be continuing on a remote basis. Of course, we know that this will feel vastly different. And of course, you know that one of the things that we'll miss the most are the chances to be together, particularly around those traditional fall events, Convocation and Founders Day. And as I've said previously, one of the biggest learning outcomes for all of us this semester particularly will be learning to continue our lives during a pandemic and in a remote way. So yes, those traditions will continue in a different way, but certainly remotely, as will those co-curricular experiences that are so rich on our campus and so inherent in completing your total college experience. So SGA, various different organizations, groups, and clubs will continue and will certainly have the support of the student affairs staff. The other piece that's very important for us to know that is an important service for your continuity of experience are health services. We are continuing through telehealth, our counseling services, and of course that very important academic advising, academic coaching, and tutoring. So as you work in your remote classes, all of those support services, your tuition is not just about classroom instruction. Your tuition is wrapped into all of those support services for you to make sure that you progress in your academic major. And to our first year students who are new to our community, we've been so eagerly awaiting your arrival from the first time that you and I perhaps met, or the president met you, or any of your admission counselor toured you on our campus. We will be reaching out to you individually within the coming week. The contact will come from your admission counselor to personally connect with you, answer any of your questions, and assist in your transition to Regis. There are primary first year programs that have been developed so you meet your peers, one of which is our First Pride program. Our orientation leaders will be a part of pulling groups together, as will our Partners in Excellence mentoring program. And for our on-campus student cohort, those students that are coming to campus because their clinical or their simulation experience is pertinent to their degree attainment. You will continue to follow the Return to Regis plan that was outlined in previous town halls and remains current on our website. We consider our campus a restricted access campus at this point, and that's important for us to acknowledge and for you to maintain for the health and safety of those essential employees that will be on campus every day to serve you and to make sure that you're safe, healthy, and well, and for you and your classmates that we make sure that you are also safe and healthy and well. So that restricted access is continuing, as is the testing protocol, and of course, all of the health and safety measures that we've reviewed with you previously. Mask wearing, hand washing, social distancing. Because of that, Dr. Driscoll and Dr. Hayes have already mentioned the single room assignments that you will receive. A lot of questions I know, particularly if you're a senior, is what hall will that be in? And I'll tell you that we're still working that out. We're trying to understand the numbers and the number of students that will be coming to residency. You will receive your residential assignment and your residential move-in time within the coming week, directly from Residence Life. All of the testing, the symptom monitoring, contact tracing for campus will still be followed, that is outlined in the plan, the Return to Regis plan. The other considerations operationally for those of you returning to campus are dining, library, fitness center, etc. And all of those locations will be open, but in a lesser fashion in terms of the number of available hours. And lastly, I want to acknowledge for those of you coming back to our campus that we will maintain our rapid closure plan should there be an outbreak on campus or the Department of Health asking us to remove residency from the campus. Your admission officers, your student government officers, your athletic coaches, your academic advisors, and all of us on this screen are committed to your degree attainment and to consistency in your academic work. Because of that, you will be checked up on throughout this transition, offering our support and our guidance. My recommendation to parents is to make sure that your student responds to calls and emails, and students respond to calls and emails, so we can make that connection with you and offer you the support and services that you so richly deserve. And if you have a question about continuing your coursework for the fall, your very best stop is your academic advisor. They will be able to properly advise you about what an abbreviated semester, what a missed semester would do, and how critical it is to continue your semesters, particularly in the programs that scaffold one semester upon another. The other position that many students and parents have talked to me about in the last week is asking about the tuition. And I repeat to every student and parent I talk to that the cost of tuition is not about just the instruction within the classroom. The cost of tuition is about all of the formative experiences, services, and connections that Regis offers you to fully develop academically, personally, and spiritually. After all of those questions, the next question inevitably from parents and students is, what is going to happen for the spring? And I say, I wish I knew. What we are planning for the spring is in the works right now, trying to really understand the pace of this virus, the understanding of what our campus is able to sustain for health and safety, and understanding that the second year for sophomore nursing students begins a clinical experience. So inherently, residency will need to grow for the second semester. This is a chance now for your Dean of Students to come on the screen. So Dean Horner, I think we're ready for some questions and answers.
And let me tell you, we've got questions. Before we begin, I just want to do a quick reminder for our first year students. Kara, Dr. Coleman had mentioned these prior to that we've got the First Pride program for our first generation students, and there's going to be a program on August 13th that we want you to be made aware of. And then obviously we've mentioned this a few times now, August orientation will be on August 14th. And if you've already went through the orientation in June, there's nothing stopping you from rejoining us in orientation. If there's things that you want to ask, or if there's an experience that you want to relive with us, by all means, join us. The schedule is going to look the same. Some of the parent and student sort of discussion sessions are going to look a little bit different because of obviously the change in the Return to Regis plan. But if you're available, please do join us on the 14th, and information will be following about those two events, the First Pride program and then August orientation. So now it's time for questions. So as I mentioned before, we had nearly 100 questions submitted prior to the town hall, and I'm not joking that we probably had 100 since we started the town hall. The good news is a lot of people have the same questions. Some of it have been addressed already when it comes to some of the financial considerations, but one of the key things that hasn't been addressed, and I think we missed it, but I think we have an answer to it, is for those students and families who have already paid their bill for Bricio, what's the process for reimbursement of room and board charges?
Hi again. Yeah, so I knew that was coming, so that's good. So once we start going through the accounts and the charges start getting reversed, we're gonna start seeing the credits come onto the account. So it'll probably take a couple weeks from the time that your account is adjusted for us to be able to send you a refund. You will be receiving an email from our partner TMS NailNet with information on how to set up direct deposit. If you don't like direct deposit, you can set up your address so we can send you a paper check. All of our refunds go through NailNet.
Thanks, Fabricio. There's been a lot of questions, obviously, with the transition to fully remote. Students aren't going to have access to the bookstore as traditionally they might to pick up textbooks. And we know we've moved to that a lot when it comes to our courses, and the bookstore itself has a lot of online options. But this is for Michael O'Keefe and probably Dr. Driscoll too. How are students, what's the best way for them to access their textbooks and the information about what textbooks are needed?
So I actually, oh, go ahead, Michael.
Yep, so I'll take a shot at that. So on the bookstore side, so students can order the necessary textbooks and course materials online at the Regis College bookstore. So there's a link on the Regis College website, and if you do a simple Google search, Regis College bookstore, it's one click and you get their website. And when you get there, it's a very intuitive website. There's a button where you select get your textbooks, and it walks you through a series of pull-down menus knowing the term, the division, department, course, and your section, and then it will populate with the course material for that course. And just remember, while you're there at the bookstore, the online bookstore is also your home for Regis Apparel, Regis Swag, and Regis Gear. If you haven't been able to get it yet because of COVID, while you're there, shop a little bit and get yourself some swag. Now, the other option is students can also look at their syllabus. Professors should be providing course material requirements on the syllabus. If they choose to, they could source it from elsewhere, but that information should be on your syllabus also.
Thanks, Bob. Mary, anything to add to that?
No, I went on the website today when I saw this question had been asked, and it's really easy. You just go right to your course, and just so you know, in many cases you have options for used and new versions of the textbook, and they can be delivered to your home.
Great.
So you don't have to come to campus to pick them up, and you don't have to necessarily buy them new if there's a used copy available.
Excellent, thanks. We've heard this from a number of our students, and it goes back to I think Dr. Driscoll addressed those majors that are specifically on campus. And this question's for Bridget, and it's for many students. We've heard that, being at home in the situation in terms of their ability to study and access information at home can be difficult. And the question is specific to if a student has a difficult situation at home that doesn't allow them to be successful when it comes to, or impossible to study, what options are for those students? Can they request to move onto campus? Are there other good options for those students, Bridget?
Thanks. Well, the thing that we keep saying is, as we've gone through this, is no matter where we are, we're still Regis. And so as Regis, we will continue to support you. We'll continue to make sure that we are doing everything that we can for our students. So if you're someone who is in need, whether that be of housing, whether that be you're questioning your internet access or technology, the thing you've always been able to do, you can still do, which is reach out to us. So whether that be directly to myself or Walt or Annabella, to whether that is to fill out the Dear Neighbor Fund application process that SGA will be reminding you of in the coming week. Those are all great options. We will also have, for those students who housing isn't a real guarantee, a place for you to be, to submit those questions to us and to submit those applications to us. So lots of options, but specific options for what specific students might need.
Thanks, Bridget. This goes to this residential piece too, in terms of what programs were determined. This is for Dr. Driscoll, and this is from a number of education students who need to complete their field experience for education. Are they allowed to move back onto campus? That the students are saying that sounds a lot like a clinical experience, or do I have other options when it comes to my field experience?
I'm glad you asked that. And as a former dean of education, when I saw that question, I looked at it too. I've been talking with the education faculty, and of course the big question mark that overrides this is, unlike hospitals and some of our clinical settings, we don't know if the schools are going to be open. Massachusetts has changed some of its rules so that students can substitute remote instruction, remote experiences for what would have been in person, at least for this semester. And I've been in touch with Dr. Rebecca Putnam, and my strongest suggestion is that students reach out and talk to her about what shifts have been made in the education program for the fall and what options are available. We don't know yet whether schools that decide to stay open or have a hybrid experience will be welcoming student teachers due to social distancing. But we do know that we can arrange, in many cases, remote experiences that will allow students to make academic progress. So Dr. Putnam is ready and waiting for those questions if you have something specific.
Thanks, Mary. Next one's for Dr. Marcia Glines, and Kara talked about this briefly, but a little more depth in terms of those students who need additional academic support. whether it be those students that have an academic accommodation or need tutoring, those students who really rely on their coaching and their advisors for support. Marsha, what's this going to look like for those students who will be remote as well as those students who are going to be on campus?
Hi, welcome everybody. It's good to see you all. We have transitioned really quite well with our academic coaching. Every single student at Regis is assigned an academic coach to help with executive functioning, time management, technology, and transitioning to a remote classroom. So those academic coaches are accessible through, our coaches will be reaching out to those students, and the tutoring will be remote, and it will be peer tutoring as in the past, but it will be virtual. And then we have the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week Smart Thinking online tutoring, which is a fantastic program that Regis offers for all students, any time of the day, any day of the week. So we will be available. All of our coaches are ready. In fact, they've posted on Moodle and on social media a number of different workshops, different strategies. So we've really made an effort to be more visible on our social media platforms as well. Does that answer?
Yes, it does.
And we have
Thanks,
a number.
Marsha.
Good. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Walt,
I'm going to some academic specific questions. And Mary, this first one is come up now, I think 4 or 5 times in the chat. So this is one that we didn't have prior to this. And this is this question from a number of students about, we transitioned to an 8 and 8 week semester. Why aren't we transitioning back to a 16-week semester? What's the benefits of staying 8 and 8 versus 16?
so for one thing, your course schedule should be split between those two so that you're taking fewer courses at a time, which is a strategy that we think will help students, especially those students that are coming to remote instruction with this intensity for the first time. If you're looking at your schedule and it seems imbalanced, it's not too late to fix it, and you should reach out to your advisor. We've found a couple of things that have happened as we assigned courses to the first and second semester. And we think that this will be, our faculty have worked all summer to make these eight-week courses really good ways of delivering instruction and working with students and engaging them. They have a combination of synchronous and online components, so we think it's going to be easier to manage time. So we think that pedagogically it will work for folks and that it's a good strategy. But again, if people look at their schedule and say, how come I don't have anything in the second semester, reach out to their advisor. We've got time to fix that.
Thanks, Mary. And we have a couple questions about internships. And what are internships going to look like in a remote setting, specific to the students that are obviously in state or near there, but those that are out of state in terms of internship requirements? Or what's that going to look like for students?
We already have a lot of remote internships and did last semester. So Susan Kennedy is working with those. In some cases, they're program specific. Advisors and program faculty are prepared to work with students around the requirements they need for a remote experience. Remember, we don't have as many sites that are looking to welcome students in person, but we're confident that we have the kinds of opportunities that allow students to make academic progress. And we will probably have remote internships on campus as well for some of our students in the programs, so that people will be working from wherever they're working from, but on an internship with a faculty member who's also working from home. It's a different setup.
Excellent. This next question came from our Student Nursing Association, and this is for both Dr. Welsh and Dr. Burke. And this is about clinicals. And when will students be notified of the location and the placement for their clinicals, whether they be nursing or the other health science programs? There's a lot of questions about that prior to making decisions about living in residency or not.
I can answer the clinicals for nursing. Most of the clinicals have been set. All of them should be, all except 2 hospitals should go out tomorrow. So you should be getting your assignments this week. And any questions, please call us or email us with any of your questions. So
thanks, Diane. Laura, you might want to tackle this next one. And this is about, we've had a lot of questions about lab, whether it be lab in specific, science courses or other lab settings. What are remote labs going to look like for the sciences and the other different majors?
So I spoke with Dean Kate Edney, who's Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences as well. And for biology, biomedical engineering, chemistry, neuroscience, physics, and psychology, the faculty has spent all summer working on how to prevent these labs remotely. For some of the courses, you will have to purchase a at-home kit. It's sort of like a textbook that you will have. It's written in the syllabus, so you will be able to see which courses require that. They've also done interactive online lab simulations. Faculty have been in the lab filming demonstrations and taping things so that their accessible videos are available. The neuroscience faculty have been in the summer uploading slides and other objects for you to work from home. So everything has been rethought and is now available remotely. For exercise science, there'll be videos, and we will also be moving some of the courses to the spring semester when we think it'll be more likely that courses will be on campus.
Thanks,
And
Dr.
Walt,
Burke.
I just want to remind people that we always had committed to options for students if they were isolated or quarantined to be able to complete their courses remotely. So the faculty always had a remote option ready for some students. Now they'll use it for all of them.
This is next one sort of a loaded question for Mary, because we know that the time and the effort that faculty took with a quick turnaround in spring, now the time they've had the summer to plan. There's concerns from students around, are faculty prepared to teach in the fall? What have they done to prepare the virtual classroom for success for students? I know we heard from some students that had some challenges in the spring, and now they're coming back and they want to make sure they're going to be successful in the fall.
So you may have been on vacation, but they haven't been. When we first announced this, the 8 and 8, we also made sure that faculty were aware of design resources, instructional design resources, and support for in classes, that we shared information, that we've had tutorials, that they had a lot of experience to share with one another, but we also brought in a lot of expertise. Nursing in particular has done a real reset on their simulations. And so we're confident that faculty have taken advantage of this time to really make this a much more robust experience. They know what worked and they know what didn't work. And so they have known really since almost the very beginning of May that we were headed for this point, and they've really been working on it.
Thanks, Mary. There are a ton more academic questions. Just because we have limited time, I'm going to shift a bit, but if you submitted an academic questions, I mean, there's a lot of them here. We'll make sure that the academic program, the faculty, and your advisor get back to you directly on the questions. There's a lot of additional questions that we know you've submitted about everything from CPR certification to, you know, the more conversations and questions about what does a virtual lab component look like. So we're not disregarding your questions. We're going to make sure that they go to the right program, the right people to answer your specific questions. So keep them coming if you do have more questions about some of the academic components that I know you have questions about. One of the questions that came in early, and it's really important for us when we think about students and their needs, and this is for Dr. Kolomitz, and this is work study. What's our plan for work study for the fall? And are we going to have remote work study positions? We know that students rely on these for income.
Absolutely. If you were granted work study, you will still search for a work study job, apply for a work study job, and all work study jobs will be continuing, but in a remote way, in a remote fashion.
Thank you. And we'll, obviously your advisors and others will show you the process in terms of looking for those jobs and applying for those jobs. If you have questions, either through the Career Center, your academic coach or advisors can help with finding.
Well, I wanted to underscore one thing that you said before you move on to other questions. You mentioned that students should reach out to their advisors, and particular program faculty will be back in touch with them with those questions. I want to underscore what Dr. Kolomitz said. The advisor will be in a position to tell you what happens if you decide not to come back this semester. In some cases, programs are scaffolded so that you would not be able to duplicate those experiences until next year. And that's a choice that you should understand before you make it. But our advisors will be able to tell you that, and you'll understand how your major is affected if, in fact, you make a different choice.
Thanks, Mary. This next question, I think, is near and dear to a number of students' hearts on the call right now. And this is the conversation that I know that we've had previously, but this is about athletics and the plan for fall and winter sports, and then the status for the winter and spring season. So I'm going to hand it over to Dean Roker, our Dean of Athletics.
Well, yes, Walt, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. It is great to see you as well. This has been an ongoing saga. I know Dr. Hayes has been on the GNAC President's Call. This is what I can tell you as of tonight. So for all of our student athletes on the call, both incoming and returning, we can tell you that unfortunately this fall, we will not be engaging in any meaningful on-campus opportunities, as we recently told you we would be, for our fall, winter, or spring sports. So this fall 2020, our coaches will be available. They will be there to support you and advocate for you. You will have virtual meetings, but we will not be having a phased-in practice that we talked about. For our fall sports, the GNAC President's Council, again, that Dr. Hayes is on, has said on October 1st, they will make a recommendation as to whether it's feasible, safe, possible to play our fall seasons in the spring. For our winter sports, we can tell you this right now. The GNAC presidents have voted that the first GNAC games, which are traditionally held as early as the first weekend in December, have been moved to a February 1st start date. That's for basketball as a winter sport. Now, our swimming championship is also the last weekend in January. That has not been changed as of right now, nor has indoor track, which is still the Valentine's weekend Sunday. Those are moving targets. Our winter sports right now, our plan as of today would be to start practice in January. And Walt, our spring sports as of right now would not be having what is a normal non-traditional season this fall, but they would be on schedule to play this spring 21, again, based on the COVID-19 situation turning around, where we can do it in a safe and healthy manner.
Thanks, Pam. There's some questions, a number of different questions that have come in for our students who are part of the programs that are permitted to return to campus. And Dr. Kolometz talked about we're maintaining our plan, our return to Regis plan, but there's questions for Diana Jones specific to testing. Could you remind us about the testing plan for those students who will be on campus, and also specifically for the students who are part of those programs but are going to be commuters? Will they also be part of that testing protocol? So Dr. Jones?
Hi, everybody. Yes, so we will be testing weekly, and we are just currently putting together our testing schedule. We will have more information. I believe we will start testing the week of the 17th. For our resident students, we will be testing you weekly, and for commuter students, we will also be testing. So we will have more information for you upon arrival to campus. And is there anything else, Walt, you want me to cover?
No, I think the big question was, which you answered, was those students who are part of the dental hygiene program or other programs but decide not to live on campus, they're still going to be part of the testing protocol and expected to test during their time in the program.
Yes,
there'll be,
that's
Dr.
right.
Jones said, a schedule and an opportunity to sign up for appointments to be tested and go through the test on a weekly basis.
That's right, Walt. We are currently working on that schedule. We've been working on it today, and we will have that schedule in place, hopefully, by the beginning of next week. And yes, so we will have more information in the days to come.
Excellent. I'm going to pull up Bridget Bonaconti because there's a number of questions that have come in from those students in those programs who will be residents in the fall. In the first one, do the students that are in those courses, do they have to live on campus? Do they have an option to be a commuter? What's this look like for those students?
That's a great question. As always, there's no forced residency. However, it's an option for you. Knowing that for many of those students, your clinical may be closer to Regis. There may be things that are happening on campus that you want to be a part of. But no, if you feel like your clinical placement is closer to your home and that's the place that you would like to be, you do not have to live on campus. That's a great question.
And then there's a question, really specific question from some students about room assignments, location of residency, Are students going to be asked to move out at the end of the fall semester before moving in back in January? So a little more understanding around the placement process notification for our residential students.
Absolutely. So we're still finalizing the hall that those students will live in, but it will be one hall. Yes, students will move in and then move out. And it's because of all the things that we've said on this call. We hope that we're back and all together for spring semester. And we know just how exciting April was for you to pick your housing selection. So what we're going to ask is that those students do move fully out, and that all residential students, as we're opening fully, will be able to opt back into their housing placements that they chose in either April or the housing placements they were assigned with their roommate as a new student in August. Many of our students took the time to consider what was best for their families, or their classes went remote faster than this decision was made. And so we want to make sure that we are equitable to all of those important decisions, because we know that your housing is just such an integral part of who you are. So those assignments will be coming out in the next week as you are all finalizing your decision to live on campus. But I've already gotten some emails. Can I live next to my roommate? Yes, of course you can. So I'll be working on that. I'll assume that you want to live next to your roommate, but if you chose not to want to live next to your roommate, you can tell me that too. But we'll be making those as we continue.
Thanks, Bridget. We have time for a few more questions. I'm going to rattle these off quickly. The first one's for students that are going to be on campus as well. This is for Michael. An idea of how dining services will look. Are all locations going to be open? What's the variety look like? And are we going to make sure that the hours accommodate those students in clinical?
Okay, thanks, Walt. So the main dining hall in the student center will be the focus of the dining program for the fall. There will be a large variety of offerings for each meal period to meet students' dietary needs. We've got Aramark working on those offerings, and they'll include made to order options, so we can personalize the food choices for our residential students. There have been some questions about where folks can eat. So the main dining hall will be open. We'll have limited spread out seating in the main dining hall. If you choose to dine there, there'll be additional space downstairs in the lower student center, and students can always take their food back to the room or sit outside if that's what they choose. And we're working on dining hours really as we understand better who's coming to campus. But we are very mindful and we'll take into account students' clinical experiences. We know that is 100% of the people that are coming to campus. So we will monitor who's coming, get a sense from them about their clinical experience hours, and we're going to tailor the dining hours around those.
Thanks, Michael. Going in that same vein, we've got a couple questions left to go before we finish up. This is to Kara, and it's a little wider conversation about campus services on campus in the fall. Is the library going to be open? Is the gym going to be open? What about those other on-campus services?
Sure. And every service is going to be available, but it might look different, or it might be not in person, and it might be remote. So we are waiting to know who that cohort of residential students are, and we want to survey what their needs are. What is the fitness center that they're most comfortable using, and that will be the fitness center that's used. But as of now, we want to really be able to concentrate on one residence hall, the dining hall, and a fitness center. And then the library will be on a remote basis, and as will the other services that typically you have on campus.
And then the follow-up to that, students are asking, if I'm not part of that group of students, am I allowed to enter campus, come onto campus and go to the dining hall and visit my friends?
Right.
Am I allowed to enter campus in that way if I'm not part of those 5 majors?
So for all of you that know me and watch me eat in the cafeteria on a weekly basis with my family, you know how much this is painful for me to say. But no, our campus is going to be a restricted campus access for the fall. And those students permitted on campus are the students that are residential, or the students that are coming to campus for their simulation clinical experience. That's because those are the people that are part of the overall testing protocol, And we're asking for people not to come to campus that are not a part of that protocol.
Thanks. This last question is for President Hayes. It's a tough question, but I think it's important because Student Government Association and numbers have asked, and this is a very caring question. People have seen in the news about sort of the struggle for some small colleges, and there's just a question, how is Regis doing? How are we doing as an institution? And President Hayes to respond to that, and then President Hayes, you can wrap up as well.
Thank you for asking that question, because it's an important one. And there is so much in the news about small colleges and survival and all of that. This is an unprecedented time. Yes, this is a challenge for Regis, but Regis has entered this very big challenge very strong. We have very robust graduate and online programs that are incredibly important to us. Our strength in health sciences and nursing has also kept us very, very strong. We also, I feel incredibly confident because we've continued to see growth at the undergraduate level and continue to see growth at the graduate and online area. This is a blip in the history of the college. We are very well grounded. And yet, while we go through this period of time, it really requires all of us to stick together. We will be sticking together, we'll be sacrificing together, but this is an opportunity where Regis, for the faculty and the staff and even the students, have an opportunity to be highly innovative, because we will be ensuring Regis's future. So I'm confident that we're in a good place, and we're no different than any other college, whether the university or colleges that are much larger than us. In many ways, we're stronger in that regard. So that's not my worry. My worry is getting to December so that we make sure that we stay together, stay well. That's all I care about right now, is that you all stay safe and well and continue your studies so that you can successfully complete your goals and your dreams of a college degree. We are here for you. The staff are here for you. You've heard it. We care very much for you. I can't wait to actually see you in person, but I will see you in Zoom, I know, because we have plenty of activities already planned for times where we'll get together, even if it is remote. So please take care, stay well. And I really do look forward to seeing all of you in January. And those of you who do come to campus, you can bet I will be bopping by to say hello. So masked and all, and I will be being tested weekly too, and I'll be hanging in there with you. But what matters is that we stick together and we will get through this because we're together. Take care.
Thank you, President Hayes. As a reminder, questions that were submitted via Zoom, we'll make sure we get back to you with those specific questions. We're going to point you in the right direction so you get responses to your questions. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll hopefully see you soon. All right, bye-bye.